Hello everyone, and welcome to day 24 of the Great Maine Bird Quest. So it's been a pretty eventful couple of weeks since the last video. I'm up to 42 species now, and it's a nice mix of coastal birds and woodland birds. Spring migration is just starting to kick in, so we're just starting to get some of those nice migrant birds moving through, which I'm super excited about. But I've also managed to get some marginally better pictures of some of the coastal birds I photographed in the first couple weeks. My most productive day so far has been day 15. I spent the morning and early afternoon down by the coast, mostly just trying to get better pictures of some of those other birds. But I did see a few new species. The horned grebe I was pretty excited about because I haven't seen one of those since I worked in Alaska back in 2007. So that was a pretty cool sighting, even though they weren't in full breeding plumage yet. Then after I saw that and a few other bird species, I went up to look for the short-eared owl again, and even though I didn't see it, I did pick up a few new bird species up there. I got my first killdeer of the year, as well as my first sparrow, the song sparrow. I saw a big flock of common grackles, and then, unfortunately, European starlings. So European starlings, for those of you that don't know, are an invasive species that came from Europe. And they like to force a lot of our native birds out of their nesting cavities and lay their own eggs in there instead. So I'm not a big fan of them, but they are kind of pretty, which is very conflicting for a wildlife photographer like me. But I got a couple of pictures of them on power lines because the way they were lined up looked kind of cool, so I decided I may as well just get it over with and get my starling pictures. I also had a really productive day 17. So for day 17, I woke up at sunrise and went down to the coast to get some sunrise photography, but then since I was down there, I figured I may as well do some birding. So check out some of the stuff that I got on day 17. Well, I think the clouds have rolled in and kind of killed a lot of the light, but it is still the Great Maine Bird Count, so I'm gonna hang out down here by the coast for a little while and see what flies by. I've been doing pretty well so far. I'm up to 35 species, I believe, and it's day 17 right now, so if I keep going at this rate, I might actually have a shot at getting all 300. But I just saw a couple great cormorant fly by, which is a new bird, and then also I got a far off picture of a long-tailed duck. So the challenge with these birds on the coast here is that they're always so far out to sea I can't get a close-up picture of them. I can get small in-frame birds, which is good for a record shot, but it's really hard to get those close-in, like really nice and crisp images when they're just so far out, because unfortunately I don't have a boat. So just gonna have to keep working at it and trying to get those closer in shots. Luckily, I still have 340 more days or so. So, anyways, let's see what other birds we can find. Well, I'm in a little mini salt marsh area, and I found a bunch of song sparrows all singing away and starting to act like it's the breeding season, which is super exciting. The spring has been really early this year, which makes me kind of worried we're gonna get a late season snowstorm, but I'm really enjoying all the sounds of spring and the birds starting to call again. So it's kind of missed that. The forests were way too quiet this winter. But I'm gonna keep trying to see if I can photograph them a little bit more. I've already gotten some good pictures of some song sparrows on the ground, but now I'm going to see if I can get some in a tree. There's nothing quite like the stink of a salt marsh, even a tiny little one like this. Even though photographing the little birds like the sparrows can have its own set of frustrations, it's pretty nice to be able to get close to them without really all that much effort, unlike all those ocean birds where I just really can't do anything about it. So I've been having a nice flock of them flying around, giving me some really good looks. With the flocks of sparrows and, well, most little birds like that, you always have to be on the lookout because sometimes they have random members of other species mixed in. This one so far seems to be all song sparrows, but I'm keeping my eye out in case there's something different in there. Well, I did add one new forest species to the list today. I got a picture of a brown creeper, and brown creepers are kind of one of my nemesis birds because I never really get good pictures of them because they always seem to hang out in very dark forests where it's really hard to get a good shutter speed, so they always end up being blurry or just in super dark shadows. And today's picture was no exception, but I got a recognizable picture, so that's good. Now I've got to spend the rest of the year trying to get a better one. Nemesis birds. Well, welcome to day 22 of the Great Maine Bird Quest. Unfortunately, today was a pretty slow day as far as birds go. I came to a wildlife refuge to check out a new area that I haven't been to before. And unlike the coast, the forest isn't really hopping with birds yet. So I only saw some chickadees, heard some kinglets. I got one picture of a chickadee, I think. But the rest of them were just kind of being annoying forest birds and staying up the tops of the trees. And I did get a terrible picture of a winter wren, which I'm pretty excited about because winter wrens are one of our migrating species, which means they're starting to make their way back up, which means soon the woods are going to be full of bird songs again. And also, winter wrens have this really amazing call, which is really, it's really amazing to hear echoing through the woods. So I got a recording of it that I'll play right after this and when I show you the terrible picture. But I'm pretty excited to have bird calls in the woods again. And before long, there's going to be all sorts of birds back. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I've also had a little bit of frustration mixed in as well. Yesterday, day 23, I tried to come down here to the coast, but realized I had forgotten my wildlife camera. And it's a little hard to do bird photography when all you have are wide-angle lenses. So I ended up just doing a bit of exploring. I did actually get my first turkey vulture and barred owl pictures, but the barred owls especially I'm going to be getting much better pictures of because I found out where they're nesting, so I'm going to be visiting them a bunch this year and watching the babies as they grow up, which I'm pretty excited to see because it's always a blast watching baby owls. I've also picked up a couple random birds around my house as well. I got a red-shouldered hawk, which I believe might be setting up a nest around there somewhere. Last year it's nested somewhere, I wasn't able to find it. But I did get at least a record shot of that outside my house, and this morning I actually got a good shot of a pileated woodpecker. And pileated woodpeckers are the biggest woodpecker in the United States, and with that bright red crest, they're pretty amazing bird to take pictures of. They're very charismatic, I think. So it was cool seeing them flying around and calling and pounding some holes in my backyard trees. Which brings us to today. So as you can see, I've been hanging out by the coast. I've gotten some better pictures of both common and red-breasted mergansers. There is a female red-breasted merganser preening and resting on a rock that I was able to watch for a little while, and then there was a pair of common mergansers swimming around in a pool that I was able to photograph as well. They still weren't quite as close as I would like, but it's only day 24, so I still have plenty of days left to try to get those super close-up pictures. But yeah, I'm still hanging out at the coast for a few more minutes, and then I'm gonna go sit at a wetland, I think, and see if anything interesting pops up. So, fingers crossed something cool happens there. So like I said in the last video, it's been really cool getting to actually get close-up looks at a lot of these birds I haven't really gotten good looks at before. So I just had a group of common eiders swim really close by to me, and even though I've seen a bunch of them off to sea and a pretty long ways away, I think this was the first time I was able to actually sit still on the coast long enough to let them just swim right by without really any idea that I was there. So it was really neat getting to see a close-up look at those really cool colors they have. They're really pretty birds, and it's great to finally get a nice close-up look of them. Well, I just finished spending about an hour with a group of purple sandpipers, which I'm pretty excited about because they're the main reason I came to this spot. I saw a group here last year, and even though the odds are never good for that... Ooh, actually there's a common loon. Hold on. Well, that was fun. There was a loon diving right off the coast, and I don't really get too many pictures of them right in the ocean as opposed to on the lake, so I had to snap a few pictures. Anyways, as I was saying, even though the odds aren't very good of seeing a bird in the same spot 2 years in a row, I decided to come here and give it a shot, and it actually worked out. And sandpipers are kind of funny because they like to hang out right where the waves are crashing, so a lot of times you'll see them kind of running up the rocks trying to get away from the splashing waves. And I was here for probably at least half an hour or so before I even saw them, and they're so dark and blend in so well that I'm sure there were a whole bunch of them all over the rocks in front of me, and I just had no idea. And then once I finally saw them, I started seeing them everywhere. There were probably like 40 or 50 of them around or something like that. So, just goes to show you, you gotta keep an eye out, otherwise you're gonna miss a lot of birds. Well, we're gonna leave the coast for now and then go hang out in a wetland that's near here. I'm hoping maybe I can get a wood duck. Wood ducks are another one of my nemesis birds. I very rarely get a chance to see them and photograph them because they're super skittish. So I'm really hoping that if I start trying to get them now, by the time the quest is over next year, I'll actually have a decent picture. So yeah, let's go check out a wetland. Well, I did find a wood duck, but not surprisingly, it was on the far side of the wetland, so I was left with yet another small in frame bird picture. I guess I'm gonna have to keep trying. Well, that is it for this video. If you've been enjoying this series, please consider heading over to my website and buying a note card or a print. It helps keep gas in my car and give me snacks while I'm out looking for birds, and every little bit is very appreciated. But again, thank you for watching. I hope you've been enjoying this journey so far, and I will see you in the next installment.